subscribers to davidicke.com. Well, it's been another bad week for freedom of speech, and hardly a week passes in which you couldn't say the same. And unless we start to focus, everybody, even those that don't think they're affected by it, because they will be eventually, if we don't start to focus on this speed with which the basic human right of freedom of expression is being deleted, then before most people realize, it will not only be affecting them, but there'll be no freedom of expression left. Only the right to have views and express views within the parameters dictated by the state. We're already moving in that direction incessantly. And of course, to control a population en masse, you have to control the way they think, the way they perceive everything, including world events. And so to do that most effectively, you have to control the information they receive from which those perceptions are formed. And so you don't just need a mainstream media banging out 24/7 the version of everything that you want the target population to believe. You also need to block any other information that is challenging that narrative. And thus we have this attack through this fake news label on the alternative media. But it's much deeper and goes much further than that. If you said to most Germans, "Do you live in a free country?" they would probably reply, "Yes. Few reservations, but yeah, really." Well, they don't. For many reasons. One of which is that I've been talking around the world, in country after country, literally all over the world, since the summer of 2016 and endless times before that over the years, with no problem. No problem for a very long time. And yet, I cannot speak in Germany. I'm effectively banned from Germany. I can talk in other EU countries, no problem. But Germany? No. Because when we book venues, either the booking is not taken, or, and this has happened many times now, the venue says, "Yeah, no problem." And then, shortly afterwards, says, "Actually, there is a problem." And what's happened is a group of people who are so stunningly arrogant that they believe they have the right to control what people hear. Contact the venue, tell them a pack of lies about me and what I'm going to say at the event. All provable lies, because I've been talking for months and months and months. People know what I'm going to say. And as a result of relatively minor pressure and extraordinary levels of mendacity, the venues just pull. And the latest effort was to speak in Berlin in October. And my son Jamie, who organises them, flew out to Berlin met the venue owners, it's a hotel chain, and contract was agreed and flew back, everything fine. And then we hear, not from the venue, by the way, from a media report, that it's been pulled. This is the report. Lizard conspiracist David Icke not wanted in Berlin. Well, before they've got into the text, the headline is incredibly misleading, because thousands of people, many thousands of people, would like to hear what I've got to say in Germany. The ones that don't want me are those that don't want those people to hear what I've got to say. So I'm not wanted in Berlin. No, I'm not wanted by those who believe that they have the right to dictate what people are allowed to say and who is allowed to hear it. Now, in any other circumstances, what I've just said would constitute a tyranny. Some might call it communism, some might call it fascism, whatever name you give to it, it's a tyranny. Dictating what people can and cannot hear and destroying this basic human right of freedom of speech. And the report goes on, the Maritime Hotel in Berlin has confirmed that it does not want to host the live event planned in October 2017 for me. Unfortunately, said a spokeswoman, at the time of the request, we were not aware that David Icke would participate in the event. We only found out later. Now that provable fact is an absolute lie. This is a media pack for venues that was sent to these people who didn't know what they were agreeing to. It has my picture on. It has some of my background, and the opening words to the text are David Icke. So I can completely understand, therefore, why they had no idea that it was me. It's a joke. And, you know, you have to pinch yourself. Ooh, ouch, yes, it is true. To believe it. So, even more outrageous, this hotel chain that's told the media that they're not going to have the event they have agreed to and knew what it was, though I was saying it, they don't, has not, a week later now, told us the venue is not going to allow the event to go ahead. And when Jamie tries to contact them to say, look, we've seen this media report, what's going on, and you're quoted in it, they won't take his calls. And this is supposed to be a major hotel chain in Germany. What's it called again? Maritime. And that's how they behave. But this gets even more farcical as we go on. This report says the Maritime declined to give a reason for the cancellation. I'll give you a reason. People contacted them, that contacted all these other venues, lied through their teeth about what I was going to say and what I believe. And they then said, oh, we're not having that, because, you see, standing up for freedom of speech is not something most people are prepared to do. What they're looking for is, how does this affect me, instead of how does this affect freedom? And so they pull. Number of them have pulled. They must be in a club. What would they call it? The Jelly Spine Club might be appropriate. But this article does quote another venue who agreed to the event, no problem, and then pulled, something called the Carl Benz Arena in Stuttgart, who they quote as saying that it held to the values of the German basic law, which also includes the right to free speech. That's how they all start, well, most of them. But then comes the but. There's always a but. Because we believe in freedom of speech. Can't be against it. That not very good, does it? We believe in freedom of speech, but. And there's a but here. It includes the right to free speech, but, of course, only as long as this conforms to the democratic principles of our society. Anyone that's heard me speak on this worldwide wake-up tour, who's listening to this, will be now having their jaw somewhere down here and a bewildered look on their face, thinking, how on earth does anything he says go against democratic principles of our society, when indeed I am calling for more freedom, more, if you like, democracy. Because what democracy is supposed to stand for is being deleted day after day after day. So I'm actually calling for more, if you like, democratic values, but they won't let me speak because of not conforming to democratic principles. It gets funnier. Stick with me. This report goes on. Many critics have noted that Icke uses anti-Semitic arguments and imagery. Name them. Name them. Name that from my talks on this talk. No, they just throw it out. That's a line that the media use all the time. Many critics have noted. Oh, really? Who? People with a vested interest? What about the ones who haven't? And then, I mean, this is the next line. Like many racist conspiracy theorists, if you look at a video cast that I did very recently about trying to shut me up, you'll hear sections from the talk where I'm saying, actually, that racism is ridiculous. And one of the quotes when I'm talking about the nature of reality that I use is, if the nucleus of an atom, which bodies are supposed to be made of, were the size of a peanut, the atom would be about the size of a baseball stadium. If we lost all the dead space inside our atoms, we would each be able to fit into a particle of dust, and the entire human race would fit into the volume of a sugar cube. What I'm saying is, race is a nonsense. But, as is the physical body, it doesn't actually exist. It's a hologram. But when you're saying race is a nonsense, you are like many racist conspiracy theorists. When you're absolutely obsessed with race and see it everywhere, then you're anti-racist. Anyway, this report then quotes someone called Jan Rathje of this organization, a NGO, it's described as, that tracks racism in Germany. Oh, really? We're getting down to what's gone on then. He welcomed the cancellation of the German events. Oh, you welcome free speech being deleted, do you? And you welcome preventing people that want to hear what I've got to say, hearing what I've got to say. Oh, let's have a round of applause. That's brilliant, that. Just the kind of society we want to live in. But what about you, Jan? Are you able to say what you want? Oh, of course. And you'll be screaming and squealing at anyone suggesting that you shouldn't. David Icke, says this person, has a lot of influence on the conspiracy ideological scene. See, drop the ideological in. When actually, it's challenging ideology. Anyway, especially, says this person, through the anti-Semitism he spreads. Where, in these talks, am I doing that? It's ridiculous. See that other video from about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the arrogance of this, through anti-Semitism he spreads, which appeals to people in Germany because it offers some relief from the guilt of German crimes against humanity in the Holocaust. How do you feel about that, people of Germany? Eh? How do you feel about that, anyone that wants to hear what I've got to say? The arrogance of it is truly, truly extraordinary. It goes on. David Icke denies the Holocaust. Where? What I've done is simply question what kind of society jails people for having another version of history, another opinion of history, another view of history. I mean, just ponder on that. You have a different version of history, so it's a criminal offense. Think about it. We accept these things. I question them. That makes you anti-Semitic, apparently, in their fevered minds. But this is the best one. This Rathje person. Quote, Rathje also argued that the reptilian theory is no more than a dog whistle for the anti-Semitic. Really? People, he said, know how to decode the code about the reptilians. So when I'm writing books, decade after decade, about a non-human force in other dimensions of reality that take a reptilian form, that are manipulating human society from what is to humans unseen, which is almost the entirety of existence. And where I'm talking about ancient accounts of this, modern accounts of this, when I'm dealing literally, quite demonstrably, literally, in terms of non-human reptilian entities, somehow that is code for Jewish people. Evidence? Zilch. They don't need evidence. All you do is ring up venues, bombard them with lies, innuendo, and then they pull the event. It's ever so simple. People think free speech, oh, it's a pillar of free society. No, it's not. Gone like that. It's going like that every day. People know how to decode the code about reptilians. Really? Or they don't. Because it's literal, I'm talking. Whether Icke means it or not, that doesn't change that fact. So whether I am really meaning reptilians or whether I'm using it as a code doesn't matter. It's still a code. It seems ridiculous, this Rathje says. But the conclusion that Icke draws, wait for this one. This is a he never said that. But the conclusion that Icke draws is that because he thinks the reptilians are pulling the strings behind the scenes, therefore the Holocaust didn't happen, that's anti-Semitism. Am I really here, or am I in some strange world of people who are completely bonkers? So, because I'm saying reptilians are manipulating human society, not only reptilians, many other different expressions of non-human life, then I am, by definition, by saying that, saying the Holocaust didn't happen. Now, it's worth just considering the extraordinary fact that this is the mentality that is seeking to delete the rights of people, both to speak their truth and for others to choose to hear it. And this is how easy it is to delete freedom of expression and the free circulation of